What is up, though, Lions fans? It's your boy Chef, and we are back. You already know what time it is. It is time for the YAK Pod episode number 69. Now, today we are going to be talking about is an interesting podcast that everybody, I believe, knows, with the Green Light podcast with Chris Long. He had Alex Anzalone on as his guest, and they talked about a variety of topics about the Detroit Lions. What is going on, Just a Fan? We're going to get to that Lions talk in short order. So anyway, they talked about a variety of Lions topics. Some of the most interesting things that they talked about were Brian Branch and his versatility, his demeanor. Now, I don't know if you guys have seen what's going on with Brian Branch and this mysterious injury. He was seen at the draft with Terrion Arnold. There is a picture of him on a scooter in a walking boot. Now, it's not a full-fledged scooter. Obviously, it's the scooter that Deion Sanders was using. Like, you're in a walking boot, but you're not putting any weight on that ankle. So hopefully, I don't have any clue. Hopefully it's nothing serious. Maybe he just had a small procedure to clean everything up, and he's not putting any weight or pressure on it just to help it heal faster. I don't know. I can't speculate. There have been no reports coming out. And hopefully it's not a situation where we get to training camp and then we find out what the injury is because he's not available to play. So we just hope that he will get well soon, be recovered very quickly, and can get back to being the versatile weapon that he is. So also during this podcast, they talked about the uniforms. They talked about the comparison between Jahmyr Gibbs and Alvin Kamara. And they talked about some other things. So let's go ahead and get into what Alex Anzalone had to say about Brian Branch. Let's go ahead and take a listen.
Although I think this Branch kid, he's a pretty cool kid, huh?
Yeah, I'd say he's up there. He's cool. He's quiet. He came in as a rookie, balled out, didn't say much. He does, yes, sir. Yes, sir. That's all he said. But don't call me sir.
Yeah, come on, man. I'm not even 30. Are you 30 yet?
I'm 29, almost.
29. You're almost there. All right, well, with Branch, because you got a lot of turnover in that DB room, but like with Branch, his versatility, can you help people understand through a couple examples of how versatile this guy is?
Yeah, I mean, he can play press man. He can play zone. He can, a lot of the times we just let him kind of just be a bonus hook player and, say, hey, bro, just go make a play. And, he's the type of player that you kind of, don't like, obviously everyone has responsibilities, but he's the type of player we kind of just want to let him do his thing. And that just is a credit to how special he can be and how special he is. And, he can play nickel. He can play safety for sure. Obviously he did in college and, hopefully he will a little this year. But, he could probably play outside too.
All right, so we saw what we had to say. Versatile in the chat. No. Just a Fan in the chat says versatile. Say it right. Shout out to the heavies and their versatility. So that brings me to talk about what we saw in the draft. We saw that the Lions double dipped in the secondary. Well, actually, they triple dipped because they got Sione Vaki. And there has been some discussion about if he's just a running back or if he's going to play safety. Obviously, he's going to get his start on special teams. I think he's a really special player that is going to find his way into the lineup somehow, whether it's just some packages or hopefully not filling in too much for injured players. But my theory, as we heard as Alex Anzalone say, that Brian Branch can play some safety because he did that at Alabama. My theory is that we are going to see a lot of 3 safety looks. We're going to have Kirby, Iffy, and Brian Branch out there on the field a lot together. And we're going to have Amik Robertson in the slot. We know that he can play outside, but when you draft Terrion Arnold and you draft Ennis Rakestraw Jr. and you want that competition in the secondary room, I think when you have the best people out there, it's going to be some combination of Amik Robertson in the slot and Terrion Arnold on the outside. Now, is Terrion Arnold Sauce Gardner? Terrion Arnold is not Sauce Gardner. Will he make an immediate impact as a rookie? I do not know. All I do know about Terrion Arnold is he has that dog mentality. He has that hard work, lunch pail mentality, put your hard hat on, go to work. He has the mentality that he is better than the person that lines up on the other side of him. How much of that is going to translate into some of the technique things that he needs to fix up? I'm not sure. But we hope that he can fix them quickly. He takes coaching well. We already know that. He was coached hard by Nick Saban. He already told AG he's going to be his best friend. So things of this nature, I think he will take the coaching. I think he'll do it quickly. Now, here's the other thing about Terrion Arnold when I'm talking about those three safety looks and the versatility, okay? Terrion Arnold was recruited to the Tide as a 5-star safety, okay? So now we're talking about Brian Branch, Iffy, and Kirby being on the field at the same time in 3 safety looks. You might have some packages where Terrion Arnold is a safety. Brian Branch slides to the nickel. Amik Robertson slides outside. And so many different things that can happen. What's going on, David Barton? So there's a lot of things that can happen. There's a lot of flexibility that we have with this secondary, with these DBs. So I think it's just very exciting. Like I said, yeah, AG will have all the options. Just a Fan doesn't believe that AG has any more excuses. So Just a Fan, let me ask you, if AG has no more excuses, what do you expect this defense and this secondary to be? Top 10, top 15, what are your expectations? Top 8. Okay, top 8. That's decent. I mean, obviously, look, if we figure out the rush on the other side of Hutch, and you guys know I'm not a Marcus Davenport fan as far as can we put a lot of trust or a lot of expectations on Marcus Davenport. David Barton says top 12 defense. Okay. I think the key is just the opposite side of Hutch. James Houston, we know James Houston is an absolute dog when it comes to the pass rush. So you're going to need, and here's another thing that said in the podcast. I'll get to that, but you're gonna need top 8 by the end of the season. Okay, that's a reasonable expectation, but you're going to need to figure out the rotation between Marcus Davenport and James Houston, or as I like to call him, James Davenport. You have to figure out that rotation. Who's going to be, obviously, in the early downs, it would be Marcus Davenport, because obviously he's better against the run. He's better at setting the edge than James Houston is. James Houston is generally a pass rushing specialist. So now, when you look, another thing that Alex Anzalone mentioned in the podcast was that they were like bottom of the league on 3rd and 11 plus. So he said that meant that you were doing a great job on first and second down for you to have a lot of third and 11 pluses. But I would always say, like, when I was watching the games, like third and a million, it's easier for teams to pick that up against us than it is for like third and 5 or less, which is crazy. And that goes with this secondary. But one thing that Anzalone said, when Chris Long asked him about Ben Johnson and the creativity that Ben Johnson coaches with and his schemes, how does that help them when they practice against a Ben Johnson offense? And one of the things that he said was the fact that in third and 6 plus, Ben Johnson has no problem in lining up and running the ball down your throat. And he said that confuses teams, because when you're doing third and 6 rush, you're trying to get third and 6 plus, you're trying to get into your pass rush. So you've got your packages out there for pass rush because that's what you believe. That's what the analytics tells you. That's what the other 30 teams or 31 teams in the league do, because you, obviously, whoever you are as the opponent, you do that as well. When it's third and 6 plus, you're going to pass the ball. But with Ben Johnson not having to pass the ball on third and 6, I think if you remember in the NFC Championship game in the first half, I think we had like a third and 12 where they just pitched it outside to Jahmyr Gibbs and he picked it up. So that confuses teams, because in their minds and in their experiences and expectations, they're thinking that it's going to be a pass. So they're sending out the pass rush package, and then you run it down their throats for 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12 yards. So that was one thing that they talked about. Last year we're in the 20s in the defense. Got to build the chemistry. Yes, we were great against the run, David, but now because you have to remember, right? James Houston was hurt. Okay, so the expectation is going to be, yes, we'll be great against the run again, and I guess James Houston is just going to come in on third downs, or if we get a 2nd and 20 or something like this, or 2nd and 15. James Houston is going to come in to rush the passer. So obviously they'll have to figure that out. But I think regardless of the DBs that we have, I think the most important thing is just figuring that out on the other side. Because once we figure that out on the other side, then, Hutch is already going to hold his own. We've got DJ Reader coming in, taking up double teams. You can only single team Aleem McNeil at that point. You can't double him. You can't chip Hutch, and you can't allocate 3 men to Hutch, because there were a lot of situations where Hutch was getting triple teamed. So you can't allocate all of those resources to him. So it's just going to be a much different type of situation with DJ Reader there. So now you've got that piece with DJ Reader. On the other side, when we figure out that rotation, yes, I would agree. I would even say that this could be a top 5 defense, not just top 8. I would say it could be top 5 with all those pieces, hoping everyone stays healthy, especially Marcus Davenport. If they can unlock Marcus Davenport and get him back to, I think it was 2021, where he had 9 sacks in 11 games. If they can get him back to that level of play, then I'm fairly confident that him being healthy will make this team a million times better, or this defense a million times better. And I believe wholeheartedly that that's what Brad Holmes was doing when he signed him. I think that's what he was counting on, and that's what he was thinking about. Because it's going to be a little bit harder, just a fan, to gel, because it's going to have to be a consistent rotation between those two players. it's not going to be a lot of Marcus Davenport and a little bit of James Houston, or a lot of James Houston, a little bit of Marcus Davenport. It's going to have to be, pretty evenly balanced. And because we are so good against the run, what we believe is that James Houston is going to get a lot of chances to eat. Now, if you've got interior pass rush, and you're playing a team like, I don't know, the Rams, okay, and they're coming out throwing on first down, and you get a sack, now it's -5 yards, so now it's 2nd and 15. A lot of teams are going to try to throw out of that situation, whether it's a quick pass. Some teams are going to run out of it. I hate when people run out of 2nd and 15. It just, well, I don't hate when other teams do it. I hate when the Lions do it. That's just been something that's frustrated me for years. It's like you're giving up. Okay, you had a negative play on first down, and now it's 2nd down, 2nd and 15, and you just run it up the gut. With this current iteration of the Lions, I mean, it's a smart play, because our offensive line is great. We have great running backs. We are used to breaking off large chunks of yards in the running game. We saw David Montgomery have the 2 really long touchdowns. One of them was 75 yards. And I think the other one was like 50 something. So we have the infrastructure set up to be able to run out of 2nd and 15, but most teams around the league don't have that. So now if it's 2nd and 15, the next 2 downs are passing downs. Even if they pick up 8 yards and it's 3rd and 7, that's still going to be a passing down. So yeah, I think we're going to have a lot of opportunities. Only 4 months to go. 4 months. That's a long time. In the chat, yeah, Wingo will get some playing time as well. So he's going to be a rotational player. He's probably going to spell Aleem, when Aleem needs a breather. And again, the versatility to be able to rush from the inside and rush from the outside on the edge is going to help him. I think it'll help keep Marcus Davenport fresh. The more often that you don't put Marcus Davenport in harm's way, the more often I think he'll be on the field, right? And I don't. Let's say you get 60 defensive snaps. I wouldn't mind seeing 25 go to Davenport, 25 go to Houston, and 10 go to Wingo. Like in the beginning, obviously, but he's a rookie, 6th rounder. Probably because of the injury, but we all know we're sitting here talking about Marcus Davenport, so we all know that injuries don't mean anything to Brad Holmes. We should start calling Brad Holmes the injury badger. Brad Holmes don't give a damn about injuries. He does what he wants. He signs who he wants. But yeah, so if we're looking at that rotation coming together, if we're looking at Marcus Davenport being healthy for whatever reason, whether he just returns to form and he's healthy, or he's healthy because there is that strong rotation, hopefully James Houston can stay healthy. We know, as I said before, broken bones are easier to come back from and less concerning than ligament and tendon injuries. The only thing that we can say that is a concern about James Houston's injury is that the leg that he broke, or the ankle that he broke, was his get-off leg. That was the right leg. So that is something to look at. But I think, in the NFC championship game, he looked good. He had limited snaps, but I think he looked good. He looked fully healed. So now he's got the whole entire offseason to get ready to make sure he's 100%. And I don't really have any concerns about what James Houston is going to be able to do as far as being on the field. So now if we're looking at, again, our safeties and our cornerbacks, our secondary as a whole, we've got Amik Robertson who can play inside and outside. We've got Brian Branch who can play nickel and he can play some outside corner, and also he can play safety. We've seen Brian Branch play faster than what his 40 time was. So we know he's a weapon. We've got Terrion Arnold who can play inside, outside. He can play safety. Then we have Iffy who can come on. He can be a box safety as well. He can come in and support the run, come in and rush the passer. And then we have Kirby Joseph, who is the true center fielder on our team. I think the secondary shapes up to be very, very versatile. And then also we have to remember that we have Rakestraw as well. Rakestraw is a very physical corner who's going to come up and smack you in run support, and as well as he's got like heat-seeking breaking speed on the short routes. So if someone is running a curl or a hitch, he's coming through them to dislodge the ball. Wide receiver screens in the backfield, he's dislodging balls from the wide receiver back there. So we've got a lot of dogs in the secondary that are just going to be flying around. And if we look at Brian Branch, he's all about football, man. Like his demeanor, like Alex Anzalone, one of the things that he said, he doesn't talk much, and he's like, yes sir, no sir. And Alex Anzalone is like, don't call me sir, I'm not even 30 yet, right? So that was the thing that we like from him. He's just all about football. He's not a big rah-rah guy. He's gonna go and he's gonna make his plays. He's gonna watch his film. He's gonna do what he has to do to get better. And how could you not watch film and be a student of the game playing all of the positions in the secondary, right? So we just got a lot of things that we can do. We've got a lot of good talent. David Barton says we have a lot of good tacklers. That was something that we struggled with, especially in the NFC Championship game. So hopefully they're doing a lot of tackling drills throughout this offseason, through training camp and all of these things. So now the Ben Johnson thing. The Ben Johnson thing was, I touched on it a little bit earlier, talking about his ability and his willingness to commit to the run. Here's a question I have for you guys in the chat. What do you think will be... Do you think defenses will be more ready for that? And do you think that it matters? Do you think it matters that defenses are more ready for the Lions to line up on 3rd and 6+ and run the football? What do you guys think? Let me know. And as I wait for your answers, I'm going to give my own answer. I don't particularly think that it matters too much. Justifan says, no, it doesn't matter. Why don't you think it matters? Before I give my answer, I'm going to ask you, why do you think that it doesn't matter? Or you're saying, yeah, Lions will be Lions. He'll be even more creative this year. Doesn't matter if your offensive line is healthy. Right? Okay. Yeah, I agree with both of those answers. What I was going to say is, I don't think it matters because it's still confusing, right? It's still confusing, and that gives our offense, and we have the best O-line, right? Gibbs will be better. I think the thing about Gibbs, what we didn't really get to see with Gibbs, is that he had a lot of Le'Veon Bell in him, but he's a lot faster, right? So he has that patience, and you started to see just a little bit of it as the season wore on. But if we see truly, because he'll run down the field at like 10 miles an hour just waiting for his blocks. And then once he gets a seam, he'll hit 30, just, 0 to 100 real quick. So if he's able to unlock that in the NFL, there's going to be a lot of issues that teams are going to have. And I think that you'll see a lot of David Montgomery had the 75-yard touchdown. David Montgomery had the longest touchdown for that running back room. And all of us expected that to be Jahmyr Gibbs. So I think next season you will hopefully see that evolution, and you will see the big 75-yard runs, the 70, the 65, the 50-yard runs that Jahmyr Gibbs can make and can get to the end zone with. I think you'll see a lot of that. Well, Montgomery will be the battering ram unless Sione Vaki replaces him. Oh, man. That was one of the worst takes that I've ever seen. Lions offense would be better than last season. It's tough for them to be better than last season. I guess if you're saying with the but with the expectation of Jameson Williams breaking out, I mean, Sam Laporta is going to keep doing Sam Laporta stuff. Amon-Ra is still going to do Amon-Ra things. Like I said, Jahmyr Gibbs is not going to, I don't think he's going to add a level to his game. I just think he's going to do things that are already in his game that we didn't get to see last season. I think hopefully him and Goff have worked on their chemistry, their timing with the passes, because there were like at least 3 touchdowns that got left on the field, a lot of first downs that got left on the field because it just, the timing wasn't right. Even either the pass was behind Gibbs or too far in front of Gibbs, or Gibbs was busy looking downfield trying to make the move before he secured the pass. So there were just some things that have to get better between Goff and Gibbs. If that chemistry has formed, then I believe that it's going to be a lot better, and I think it'll be more efficient. Right? I think there'll be less third and longs. Yeah, I think that's the thing that I'm going to say, because like I said, it's going to be hard to be better than last year. I think last year they were top 5 offense, top 3, top 5 offense. So unless you're expecting them to be the number 1 offense, which is not a stretch, it's not a stretch, especially, like I said, especially with J-Mo. So if J-Mo does what Dan Campbell himself is expecting him to do, I mean, if you saw in the owners' meetings, Dan Campbell was super duper excited about the prospect of Jameson Williams being the number 2 receiver on the team, because that coaching staff thinks very highly of him. He came in, he worked. Yes, he was doing some freelancing in the beginning of the season, not the beginning, it was the beginning of his season. Obviously, his season started 4 or 5 weeks after everyone else's. But if he takes away some of the freelancing and he runs the routes that he's supposed to run, I don't want to say this, but I'm going to say it. You know where Jameson Williams would be great? Like, there would be no concerns. had he been drafted to Kansas City, because there's a scramble drill that gets run in Kansas City. There is no scramble drill that gets run in Detroit. So as long as he's able to fix that freelancing and he's running the routes that he's supposed to run and being in the places that he's supposed to be in, Goff is going to find him. And I don't think Goff is going to find him a ton way down the field. I think it's going to be more YAK involved. We know he's going to run by most DBs in this league. If it's just straight line speed running down the field. And then again, so that's what we were talking about before when we were talking about Ben Johnson and his willingness to run the football on 3rd and long, and it confuses the defense. It's like a pick your poison type of situation. Also, if you're now looking at the passing game and you're saying, well, J-Mo's going to beat you deep. So you're either going to roll a safety over the top, which takes away coverage from the middle of the field, which allows Sam Laporta and Amon-Ra St. Brown to eat. Or you're going to just say, look, man, we can't help you because we've got to get the middle of the field covered because Amon-Ra St. Brown and Sam Laporta are killing us. So we're just going to need you to do your best to keep up with him. And then it's just it's just throwing it over the top every time you see that single coverage. And I don't think it's ever really going to be press man coverage because you don't want to press J-Mo unless you have someone who is an excellent press corner. Because if you miss that jam, if you miss with those hands, you better hope there's a safety. But then he can hit him with a turkey hole shot. And it wouldn't really be a turkey hole shot because I think there would be so much separation between that corner getting left in his dust at the line and that safety coming over the top. I just think it's a free catch and run type of situation. So there's a lot of scenarios that we can look at and understand like how the offense can be better this year. But I don't know. I'm just hoping that it's more efficient. It was very efficient last year. But I just hope that it continues to be efficient. It gets more efficient. And I think if it gets more efficient, then it has the potential to be the number one offense in the league. Because, like I said, there's just so many scenarios, so many killers and assassins that we have. Can I say that? I probably shouldn't say that. But there's so many dogs that we have on the offensive side. The stream is still going, so YouTube didn't strike me yet. Anyway, so we have so much to put on the plates of the defenses, and if the defenses can't eat everything that we're putting on the plate, then that's going to cause a problem for them. So that's also going to do is that's going to stretch out when we talk about the Bears and all they have on defense. Shout out heavyweights, as Spinney said earlier today, that we've seen what happens firsthand when you only have one guy rushing the passer. We have Hutch. Last season, we had Hutch and we didn't have anybody else. I mean, obviously, we had Aleem McNeil, but we're just talking about Aleem McNeil's on a defensive tackle. He's a defensive tackle. We're talking about coming around the edge. When you only got one guy coming around the edge that can get to the passer, that's tough. So now if they've just got Montez Sweat out there, it's still going to give us time. We have the best offensive line. We have to worry about Montez Sweat coming off the edge. We don't really have to worry about middle pressure because, again, we have the best offensive line. So that's going to stretch them out, just as we believe that Rome Odunze, Keenan Allen, and DJ Moore are going to put stress on our secondary. Well, Sam Laporta, Amon-Ra St. Brown, and Jameson Williams are going to do the same thing on their secondary. So I think that'll be a lot more evenly matched than a lot of people think. They think that the Bears are going to give us trouble. The Packers are going to give us trouble. And it's possible. It's true because we're talking about division rivals. We're not talking about people that we see once in a blue moon. You see this team once in a season, and then you don't see them again for 3-4 years. We're talking about teams that we see twice a year, every year, without fail. So that from that aspect is going to be more difficult for us against them, but then it's also going to be more difficult for them against us. So it's a two-way street. That's the way that it runs. Can we hope for 15-2? Just a fan, you were here yesterday. You know how difficult it was for me to find 2 more losses. And like I said, on paper, the Texans are a very scary football team, but hopefully we will play them on Thanksgiving. Now, why do I say hopefully we'll play them on Thanksgiving? I think Thanksgiving is long enough for Stephon Diggs to have destroyed that locker room. I think Thanksgiving is long enough for him to have done enough damage where, the young receivers are afraid to run their routes. They're afraid to catch passes. So that's what I'm hoping. But 15-2 is tough, man. 15-2 is tough. Even though, like I said, I just said what I said about the Bears and the Packers and it being equally as tough. The Lions got better. They got better. I think we split. Now, one of the things that we don't have to worry about, thankfully, is Justin Fields and his legs. And that's the problem, right? Justin Fields and his legs were the problem because even if you're saying, all right, we're going to throw on first down, you're expecting generally teams to run on first, second down, somewhere around there. And you don't have your pass rushers out there. But in our case, last season, we didn't have James Houston for the season. We didn't have James Houston in any of those Bears games because he got hurt in the Seahawks game, second game of the season. Caleb, yes, throw picks to us, go. Caleb Williams is mobile, but he's not Justin Fields. If we're comparing Justin Fields and Caleb Williams as far as mobility, Caleb Williams is not a threat. If we're comparing the two of those guys, that's probably why that's another reason why they compare him with Patrick Mahomes. I feel like he's a little bit more athletic than Patrick Mahomes, but not by a ton. So he's not going to burn down the field or anything. He will run and he will finish his runs. He will put his shoulder into you. So if you're a corner coming up to tackle a Caleb Williams, strap in, put your hard hat on. He's going to bring it to you. He's not going to be as hard to bring down as Justin Fields. I mean, Justin Fields in the grasp is like it's not a 50-50 proposition. It's a 30-70. And I know it's supposed to be 70-30, but I'm saying it's 30-70 because for you, 30% chance to get him on the ground when you have him in the grasp. He's one of the hardest quarterbacks to get on the ground, probably the hardest outside of Cam Newton. Would you guys agree with that? Is Justin Fields the hardest quarterback to get on the ground outside of Cam Newton? And Cam Newton is 6'5", right now, 6'5", 250. So the the difficulty getting Cam on the ground is Cam is an offensive lineman playing quarterback. You know, he's an he's a defensive end playing quarterback. So be interesting to see how he develops. Lots of picks. So, you know, that was the difference with Cam. The lower body of Justin Fields was just so unbelievably strong, man, that they talk about Jalen Hurts squatting 600 pounds. I don't know what Justin Fields was squatting, but Jalen Hurts wasn't even that difficult to get on the ground. You know, Justin Fields was like, you know, and I don't like to heap too much praise on Justin Fields because he did go to Ohio No State. Go Blue. Shout out to Wolverines. But I'm glad he's out of the division. Dan Campbell was also glad that he was out of the division. And now, well, I can't say now. Next year he'll be the Ravens and the Bengals. No, he is on the Steelers. There's always someone I forget. Steelers, Ravens, Bengals. The Browns. No wonder why I always forget. Okay, it's the Browns. You can forgive me for forgetting the Browns. So yeah, we'll see how Caleb does against of NFL talent. But my thing, if you're able to run a corner over in college, you can run them over in the NFL. I mean, corners, as far as the physicality, let me make this statement. Let me see how I'm going to couch this statement. As far you're not going from, so like, let's say a defensive lineman. Let's say Dallas Turner. Dallas Turner is 247. So by the time the season starts, it's realistic that Dallas Turner could be 260. If we look at Jared Verse, in one summer, he went from being 200 pounds to 250 pounds. And that's in college. And he put on 50 pounds of muscle. There was no fat there. Y'all all know I love Jared Verse. Pause. That man is shredded. I think he probably has like 3% body fat. Like, it's just unreal. It's just shades of Aaron Donald, and it's not fair. I don't want to get into a tangent. It's not fair, man. It's shades of Aaron Donald. Aaron Donald was a beast, no fat. Not a fat man. He's a huge man, big man, not a fat man. It was all muscle. Justin Fan says Caleb would be afraid to break a nail. Yeah, he doesn't run like he's afraid to break a nail. That's the thing. He will put a shoulder in to a defensive back. Now, that was my thing. So you look at a Nate Wiggins. Nate Wiggins is 173 pounds. You might be able to expect him to be 180 by the time the season starts. Maybe. Right? So we're asking him to put on 7 pounds. Which he seems like a guy that has a metabolism that doesn't allow for that. So I'm not sure. But let's say that he's able to put on 7 pounds. I don't know. That's a lot. Maybe he'll be 178. Maybe he can put on 5 pounds. There's not a huge difference between 173 and 178. You're still running 178 over if you were running 173 over. But like I said, with Dallas Turner, he's a lineman. If he puts on 13, 15 pounds, there's a big difference between, running over a guy that's like, we'll look at Nate Wiggins. we can't. Nate Wiggins is a twig. Let's just say there's a big difference between running over a guy that's 200 pounds and running over a guy that's 215, right? Corners aren't really putting on a whole lot of weight because that affects their ability to play the position. So when you look at corners coming from college and then getting to the NFL, the weight shift is generally not like huge, right? It's generally probably the most that they would put on at corner is 10 pounds. A safety, depending on what kind of safety he is, maybe he's a box safety, he might put on 10 to 15 pounds, right? So again, as I said, it's a different thing when you're going up against corners. But Caleb Williams is not going to be putting his shoulder into any linebackers in the league. He's not going to be putting his shoulder into any defensive ends in the league. He's not going to be doing that. So when we're talking about his speed, it's not on the level of Justin Fields. You can bring him down a lot easier than you can bring Justin Fields down. So from that aspect, Caleb Williams is going to be less of a threat. You know, that's my thing. Are his legs a threat? Just like Patrick Mahomes' legs are a threat when things break down in the pocket. Caleb Williams moves around very adeptly in the pocket. He's got a lot of pocket awareness. But like I said before, he does stare down defenders, or not defenders. He does stare down receivers. He will lock in on his target. So please expect a lot of picks from Caleb Williams. I hope he has a very Peyton Manning-esque rookie season. And then what I hope it does, I hope it destroys his confidence so he doesn't come back as a Peyton Manning type of quarterback. It just becomes like a mediocre journeyman. That's not even wishing ill, because I don't like to wish ill on people, right? That's not even wishing ill on it. I mean, we saw Chase Daniel get a $10 million contract from Detroit Lions to not play, to sit on the bench and hold a clipboard. We've seen it. So if Caleb Williams turns into something like that, I mean, obviously from pick number 1 overall to becoming a journeyman, that's not ideal, but he's still going to get his money. So, you know, that's not wishing bad on him. Yeah, okay, everybody doesn't make it to the Hall of Fame, but does that mean that your career was a failure? It doesn't, right? So we hope that he doesn't make it to the Hall of Fame, but his career doesn't have to fail. And if he eventually gets out of the NFC North, then good luck to you. I don't really care. So back to what we were talking about, right? When we're talking about our secondary and its versatility for you guys. I think there's going to be a lot of stuff that AG is going to be able to do. I think the creativity of AG is really going to shine this year, because now he has those tools and he has all the pieces that he needs. I mean, when you look down the field and you see Iffy, Terrion, Kirby, Iffy, Terrion, Branch, Kirby, Iffy, Branch, Kirby, Iffy, Terrion, Kirby, Terrion, Branch. Like, when you just look out and you see those 3 on the back, whatever combination of all those people, and then you look, you know, you got Carlton Davis, Amik Robertson, Terrion, or Rakestraw, or Amik, or Brian Branch Amik, or Brian Branch Rakestraw, Brian Branch Terrion. Like, I think we're really set up to do some crazy things. And then if we look at our defensive line, even without drafting an edge to solidify on that other side of Hutch, we still got Terrell Williams, right? Terrell Williams is supposed to be the D line whisperer. So with him there, I just think the sky is the limit for this team. The sky is the limit for this defense. So I will say, just a fan, I agree with you for your prediction of top 8, or not even your prediction, your requirement for top 8 defense by the end of the year. I think, depending on how fast the rookies develop, I think it could be a top 5 defense by the end of the year. So that's, I'm going to say that I'm shooting my shot. Top 5 defense by the end of the year. But I'm not saying that if they're not top 5, then AG needs to be fired or anything of that nature. If they are top 5 and the offense is top 5, I don't see how you don't win the Super Bowl. Because I don't think in the history of the NFL, a team has been able to do that and go to the Super Bowl and win it. When Tom Brady was 17-0, does anybody know what his defense ranked? Because I think that's probably the closest that we can see. Let me see. Let me look it up. What year was that? Let's see. Patriots. I'm not big enough yet, so I got to do all my research. I have to do all my research myself. I don't have a team. I don't have any interns. Let's see. Patriots 17-1 season. This is 2007, okay? So 2007 defense ranking. Okay, yeah. So they were number 4, right? Team defense was number 4. And they were like 500 yards clear of the San Diego Chargers. So what was their offensive ranking? It's looking like they were number 1. Yep, they had the most yards of total offense by a team in 2007 with 6,580 yards. So, again, like I said, that's the type of team that you're looking at. If you're saying that this defense is going to be top 5, and the offense is going to be top 3, top 2, number 1. I mean, now we saw what happened, but they still didn't win the Super Bowl. And at that time, I was still a Tom Brady hater, so I was really happy that they didn't win the Super Bowl. But just as all the goats, you know, Michael Jordan, hated Michael Jordan as a kid growing up in Detroit. I won't listen to any conversation now that doesn't have Michael Jordan as the GOAT. I just won't. Tom Brady, hated him for the Tuck rule situation and taking away the Super Bowl from my guy Charles Woodson, and it was sweet to see Charles Woodson get a Super Bowl with the freaking Packers. I was happy for Charles. Wasn't happy that the Packers got it. But now, I don't remember where the shift happened, but you know, Tom Brady, he's my GOAT. I actually became a fan of Tom Brady, probably because the Lions were so bad, and I just had to latch on to something. I was like, look, man, I'm going to stop hating on Tom Brady. He's a Michigan man. Greatest quarterback of all time came from Michigan, and you already know what it is. So that was my shift with Tom Brady. Like I said, I don't remember when it happened. It happened after 2007 because I was celebrating when they lost that Super Bowl to the Giants, because I did not want the Patriots to be the only team in modern history to have gone undefeated throughout a season. We know the Dolphins did it, and they celebrate every year with a bottle of champagne when the last undefeated team gets beat. But that's the type of team that you're looking at. Yes, Michael is the GOAT, just a fan. I mean, how can we give it to LeBum? You know, all he does is lose no matter what. Devin Bynum, welcome. What is up with Brian Branch? Are we talking about the injury? Yeah, we don't really know. We don't really know. If you're asking about the injury, we have no idea what's going on. There has been nothing leaked. The only report is what we can see. We can see the picture of him being on the scooter in the walking boot, not able to put any weight on that thing. So I have no clue. The Lions don't have to report injuries that happen in the offseason. So we'll hopefully come training camp, it'll be a moot point because he'll be at training camp practicing. He may have had a procedure. If we look at Coach Prime, right? New green energy transportation. I mean, that could be it, just a fan. You might be onto something. It could just be the new green energy transportation. But what's the walking boot for? Is it a prototype rocket boot, right? That he has to wear around. And he's gonna get the other one soon. They're not finished making the prototype, so he can just It's a new training mechanism, right? It's a new training mechanism. It helps him jump higher, run faster. Yeah, putting a positive spin on it. But yeah, see, there you go. Hopefully he'll be fine. Like I said, the Lions don't have to announce. They don't have to do injury reporting because it's the offseason. So we'll see. But that is all the time that I have for today, guys. Trying to keep it an hour because, man has other things to do, got work to get done and things of this nature. So appreciate you guys for hanging out, everybody in the chat that came to this illustrious kitchen. And as always, if you didn't subscribe on the way in, subscribe on your way out. If you didn't smash that like button on your way in, smash the like button on the way out. If you didn't share on the way in, share on the way out. And again, going live, I have to continue to get better at sharing my own damn stream. I gotta get it in my routine as the first thing that I do when I go live. I need to share my stream because that's something that I do it intermittently. I'm not great at it, so I need to get better at it. So maybe you guys can remind me, just a fan, remind me tomorrow. Share your stream, Chef. Did you share it on Twitter? Did you make it a post? And if I didn't, I'll thank you for it. And if I did, I'll still thank you for reminding me. But as always, guys, appreciate your time. Appreciate you hanging out. And until next time, peace.